Episode 11 of Akebi's Sailor Uniform got me so bad. It was funny because, the earlier parts of it, I got teared up, and then I thought that was it, and then, the later parts, it gets me again. I'm like, ugh, this show is so good, and it's so interesting because as I'm tweeting out to everybody saying this episode's destroying me, it came back in my head, this whole concept that I love how the show is not trying too hard to get me. It just kind of naturally happens because I like the characters so much. Acknowledging where they've been and where they came to, and the destination they've gotten to, is enough to really pull it out of me. And yeah, just can we acknowledge Usagi in this episode, how great she is? Now, granted, I don't necessarily think that Usagi meant to do this. It's just something that she pulled off that I think in effect caused this whole entire breakdown from Akebi. But yeah, love the episode through and through, absolutely fantastic, and really kind of starting to develop something between Erika and Akebi for something for them to do later. It's Kizaki. I'm still calling her Akebi because of the show. Yeah, so on one end of this entire story, we have, obviously, Erika finds out that Akebi is going to be doing one of these little dance routines at the end of this festival, and so she kind of has an interest in wanting to play the piano for her, and this is something that Usagi at some point picks up on and suggests to her, hey, why don't you go ahead and play this song for her? I mean, I have the CD of this song that she's going to be playing. You might be able to play it with her. And so most of the time in the entire episode, Erika is really kind of focusing on that, really kind of struggling if she want to do it, and then realizing at some point that she wants to do it, and now practicing for it, which, yes, that later scene with her playing and kind of imagining Akebi dancing to it was really fantastic. I loved it. Just the animation was just awesome. I still have a thought that eventually they're going to possibly get into something about why she stopped playing piano, and if possibly that's connected to maybe another family member of her, something that she's struggling with currently. It doesn't seem like it's playing too heavily on that, and again, I don't really expect them to do that, but it just seems to imply too much that it was something that she had once that she gave up on and that she's never gone back to until now when she feels it's something that could benefit Akebi. And of course, on the other end, we have Akebi, who is preparing for this athletic festival, so she wants to practice volleyball. And since there's no place that they can practice it currently, she decides, oh, hey, by the way, there's this big, huge gym at the school that I used to go to that could possibly let us use it. And yeah, that comes into the phone call to the teacher that got me bad. She calls up her teacher and says, hey, I got a bunch of friends that we need to use this gym. Can we use the gym so that we can practice? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. And then she starts breaking up. It hurt. I mean, they've been implying this for quite a while now. And I think I mentioned this in my early episode impressions, this idea that Akebi doesn't really have the usual barriers and growth that we see in most people. She doesn't really get those boundaries that most people have because most of her school life, which the teacher mentions in this episode, 6 years of her schooling life, she was alone. All she had was her teacher, and her teacher was the only one to really kind of play with her, nobody her age. And it wasn't until her sister Kao joined her school that she shortly later left that school. So she hasn't really had much experience playing with other girls her age, and so her maturity is not quite what most people would expect. And so having that aspect in play, I always thought, okay, well, this is kind of a sad story. She never had friends, and so now she wants, like it kind of led you to believe at the very beginning, 100 friends. And so that was her goal, and so she goes out of her way all the time to make sure that she makes friends with everybody. She goes out there and she seeks out friends, and that's always what's so special about Akebi. But to really kind of take it and go, oh, by the way, let's acknowledge the fact that she's never had friends and how much that means to the teacher now that she does have friends, it just broke me. The teacher's so happy. She's like, I'm so happy that you have friends now. I've always wanted you. She said that the only way that she could help Akebi was to let her know that someday you will have a lot of friends. She knew that Akebi had that in her. She had the spirit in her to make friends, and now that she finally has the opportunity to do it, she knows she can pull it off, and sure enough, she did. And yes, it's just, I didn't want to see Akebi cry. Akebi crying was just, that hurt a lot. Oof. Additionally, with this, again, Usagi is kind of going around and trying to rope up as many people as possible to come to this event to train at the school. And again, I don't necessarily think that it doesn't really quite put it into perspective what Usagi's doing right there. The assumption is that she's trying to gather everybody to help Akebi. Like, okay, Akebi needs help right now. Let's get everybody together and help Akebi. She helps everybody else, so let's bring this together and help her. Like I said, unless I missed it, because honestly, I just got back from a long trip, and so I might have been half unconscious. It didn't have Usagi really come out and say, I'm gathering everybody because of this. She was just going around gathering everybody. And it almost felt like her gathering everybody was just to help Akebi because she knows that Akebi helps others. I don't necessarily think it was a case of she wanted to show Akebi how many friends she has. I think it was just a happenstance because she did this happened, which again was that acknowledgement of just how many friends that she's made. And I think that was a great addition to this episode. On top of the teacher realizing that she has friends now, the teacher now seeing how many friends she has, and Akebi seeing how many friends she has. How many people are standing by her because she's just that good of a person, that she's somebody that you want to stand by. That's always been the case with the story. But it was a nice surprise, I think, to the viewers as well, having this idea that we knew that there was like 4 or 5 people in there, and then suddenly when the teacher gets there, oh, by the way, there's a ton of people here. And again, that's something of a shock to Akebi, which was great. So love to death. That was just a great scene. That additionally with the scene with Akebi on the phone, they pulled the tears out of me so bad. It was just not, I wasn't ready for it, and it happened. A couple additional scenes in here that I've kind of skipped over is I did like the fact that the volleyball team, they've kind of acknowledged the volleyball team is kind of like their premier club within the school. Like, this is the one that has the most prestige. And so they're focused on making sure their volleyball club team never ever fails to meet their goals. But even still, they get roped into it. I loved gosh, I forget what their name was. The head of the team. She sees Kao, and Kao's like, "You're big." And she just picks her up like, "What is this thing?" It was so cute. It was interesting to see the thing that the club president held up for Akebi obviously was the dance routine for the festival. I'm curious if what's all going to be involved in that. Obviously, the intro kind of implies a couple things, which includes a bunch of members on the stage. I'm curious if it'll just stick with Akebi doing the dance routine and Erika on piano for it, or if it's going to be a thing where everybody kind of joins in. Either way, I'm sure that'll be a very beautiful scene. I'm guessing that'll probably be in the last episode just to kind of wrap things up. At any rate, absolutely fantastic episode. Like I said, it broke me multiple times. Cannot wait to see how this show kind of wraps things up. I'm kind of a little sad to see it go at this point. As much as I'm excited for spring, this is one of the shows that I don't want to see leave. I love this series so much. It's absolutely wholesome. I root for Akebi on a weekly basis. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below, comment, let me know what's thought of the episode, subscribe if you haven't already, share this video if you can, support us on Patreon, throw a tips link in the description below. But definitely appreciate everybody that does. And y'all take care.